So a lot of us want to know more data about the analysis, about the schools, about crime rates, about, all these different factors that would affect quality of living in a neighborhood and hence property values and whether we should buy in there. This technology is coming along really fast, and it's very useful for anybody in the industry.
And now, here's your host, Jason Hartman, with the complete solution for real estate investors.
It is my pleasure to welcome Steve Hoffman back to the show. His nickname is Captain Hoff. He's the author of the books you see on the screen if you are watching on video. If not, I'm sure he'll touch on them. He is a specialist in technology and cryptocurrency and all things digital. Last time we got so engrossed in this conversation about land in the metaverse, about NFTs, then about cryptocurrency, about inflation, the scams of land in the metaverse and so forth, that we didn't get to cover what we planned to, which was real estate technology. So I want to cover that today. And I hope this isn't the poison pill, Captain Hoff. I got to ask you one more thing, a question I forgot to ask you last time. And that is, you were talking about maybe Decentraland or another one. I can't remember the name of it.
Axis Infinity.
Axis Infinity, that has a lot of inflation in the metaverse. And you said they were grappling with it as if they were the Federal Reserve trying to battle inflation. How do they grapple with inflation in the metaverse? How do they get that under control?
They basically have to cut down on the money supply, just like in the real world. They can't just keep printing this money. Basically, they designed the system so that if you buy into it, you earn their cryptocurrency. The more you participate, the more you play. Well, people started to earn so much that inflation kicked in, ruined their economy, and now they're trying to restructure it. Really tough to do.
So they've got to basically cut earnings, cut wages.
But they promise people a certain amount, and they built it into the system. So how do you do it?
That's quite interesting. No, then that's what I say. The way you get out of that is you just simply inflate everything. And that's what the government has done for decades now. And that's probably what they'll end up doing in the metaverse there. So
yeah, that's what's
very
happening.
Interesting. All right, good. Well, thank you for all of that last time. Now let's dive into real estate technology. If you want to I know you've got some visuals, you can put them on your screen. Make sure you explain them a little bit for anyone listening on audio only. I don't think they're too complex, the visuals. So go ahead and share those if you would.
Sure, my pleasure. I'm going to talk today about the future of real estate. And I write about some of this in my book, The 5 Forces That Change Everything. It's all about the latest technologies and how they will really change our economy, change our lives, change business. This episode, we're going to dive deep on real estate. What will happen in the future? So one thing, will we, when we go to buy real estate, be meeting with a robot? It's expensive to have human beings take you on house tours. And basically, most house tours are the same. They could be done just as easily by a robot. A robot could answer all your questions. So this robot could be a physical robot. It could be a virtual robot on your phone, like on your smartphone, that literally takes you on the tour, answers your questions through AI. It doesn't have to be an actual, machine robot that takes you around. Will this happen? Economically, it makes sense, right? If you want to go on a tour and you want to, all of automation that we've seen for decades now has been how to take humans out of the equation. That's how you make money, is minimizing human. So I ask you right now, being an expert in real estate, do you think people will accept it to have an app take them around? Let's say they lowered the transaction fees for the real estate and they could save money.
Yeah. Oh, definitely. No question. The reason the real estate industry hasn't been lost to the internet is that it's much more complicated than buying an airline ticket or something like that. I mean, you can see why travel agents have lost out to the internet.
Yeah, completely.
But the real estate agents haven't, it's just too big a number to buy it online exclusively. So, people want to consult with someone, and just the fact that you have to access the property because they're not a commodity. 2 houses next door to each other can be very different, as we know, right? So you've got to.
It's going to be interesting. It's been highly resistant to technological change in certain areas, especially when it involves cutting out the broker network, the real estate agent network. So that's the last big one. We know Redfin tried, or they're trying to do that to a certain degree. It's somewhat worked, but not real, hasn't really had a big impact. We will see as technology advances, and people become more comfortable with technology and the ability for AI to really answer your questions, to really handhold you through the process and make you feel comfortable. When it hits that inflection point, and we are so used at the point to using AI to buy products, we'll be on our phones and say, instead of going to the Amazon website, we'll be saying, find me this product, find me the best toothpaste and just buy it, find me that and make sure it's delivered. AI will be guiding us to restaurants. Will it be a big leap for them to have us take us through real estate? Probably not.
Yeah, right.
The other way to buy property is really never see the property in person. You actually see it online through a VR experience. And people are becoming more used to this. We are talking about the metaverse and people buying land in the metaverse. Well, why can't you buy real property but it's all digitized? There's the digital twin online that you can walk through. There are a number of companies doing it. Again, it's had a relatively small impact so far. One of the big reasons is people aren't used to using these headsets.
Well, see, that's the thing. People are touring the houses, but it's on a flat screen. They're using things like Matterport and all these different virtual tour companies, but really no one's using goggles. I mean, I'm just curious, how is Oculus Rift doing? Do a lot of people buy those goggles? I don't own them. If I thought they were cool and useful, I would definitely buy them. But
so I'm a big gamer. I tried a lot of the early VR stuff, was totally entranced with the gaming ability. But for most other applications, especially for socializing and casual use and consumer use, hasn't taken off at all. So Facebook paid a huge amount, I think $3 billion to buy Oculus. And now they're offering it for a pretty attractive price. You can buy it for a few $100s, the headset, but it's not flying off the shelves. People aren't using it. It's a very niche audience. And the reason is because I have a theory about all technologies. And my theory is that people will always gravitate towards the simplest way to do anything. We don't like technology for technology's sake. We want to do something. We want either to have entertainment or we want to get something done, some utility, some goal we want to accomplish. And right now, a flat screen, it's like not quite as cool as viewing it in VR, but it's for practical purposes, it's so much easier to access, so much easier to navigate. We don't need special hardware that all of us just do it on our computer screens or on our phones. And I'll tell you, like watching a video, somebody take you on a video tour of a home or using one of these other platforms where it's more visual, where they're doing photographs or taking you through virtual environments, but in a flat 2D version of it, that's good enough. And it's so much easier to use that I don't see people switching away from that anytime in the near future. When they'll be using true VR, where you can really feel like you're walking through the space, is when we get used to using Oculus or other VR viewing devices for our everyday life. So if Apple, let's say, comes out with an augmented reality glasses that everybody adopts, then people will say, oh, I'm already using this to do all this other stuff. I'll use it for real estate too. At that point, we'll see the sea change. So the next one is robot security. So we already see this with a lot of real estate, and this is something that it's happening today, and it makes real sense. So not only do they have robots like this patrolling some industrial plants and things like that, but even more relevant to most real estate owners, and we're going to see a lot more in real estate, is they have cameras with very intelligent AI behind them. So that camera can literally, and they have this today, it's fascinating. They can predict by someone's gait, how they walk, by their movements, how they're looking around, whether they have criminal intent or not, to a very high degree of accuracy. Literally, they can say this person isn't just walking past the house, or they're not just curious. This person is actually looking to burglarize the house by pattern matching. So the movements they do, are the movements that a burglar would do. And the more data they collect on this, the more accurate they become. So we're going to see, I predict the robots are kind of cool looking and fun and sci-fi, but really it's all about cameras and audio, right? If we have AI listening in and watching on a property, it's going to be a super effective way to alert the police even before the person breaks in. They can show up literally before the person.
It's literally the Minority Report, the pre-crime division, right?
Yes, and we're getting there. We're getting really close to that now. Device integration. So this is the holy grail of IoT, Internet of Things. Like we have all these, thermostats, Nest thermostats. We have, everything's going digital from our ovens to our sprinkler systems, you name it. And we're controlling them all on smart devices. How are they integrated together? Is it a seamless integration? Because there's so many devices in a home, as you know, if you're a real estate owner, from your doorbell, your doorbell, I think the one that Amazon controls, then there's lots of other makers, but you get all these different apps, and these apps aren't interpretable. So they don't work together. What people ultimately want is one app that controls their entire home.
Right.
One app that's super easy to interact with. And the companies best positioned for this are ones like Amazon or Google to really build the platforms out that everybody integrates with. And that was Google's purchase of Nest. So will we see this happening in the future? It's still not here yet. It's been promised for over a decade, but we are headed in that direction. This is coming. Autonomous devices. Now, this is what people really want. So people don't want an app for every device. In fact, they don't want any apps. What people want are devices that just work. You don't have to figure them out. You don't have to set them up. They literally just work. Like you set it and forget it. So whether it's mowing your lawn with a robo mower, vacuuming your house with your Roomba, people don't want to interface with these devices at all.
Right.
And what we want is, as the homes of the future, what we're going to see in the future are literally all these devices doing their job that we literally just turn them on and walk away.
Mm-hmm.
And the device makers that can deliver that to people in the best possible way, the best user experience, they're going to dominate.
Yeah, we just want it to work and happen without us. When the house needs vacuuming, the Roomba should just vacuum the house,
Right. And we shouldn't have to set it. We shouldn't have to. Right now, I bought a RoboVac. It's kind of a pain to set up, and it has to map the whole house, and it can't go in certain places. And if you drop something on the floor, they're getting better and better, but they're not there yet. And we will get there. AI for real estate forecasting. There are apps out there now that do this. It's a very exciting thing. And for any investors out there, you should be looking into it. Some of these, like we saw with Zillow, didn't work so well. Zillow said,
clearly,
we have all this data. We're going to be incredible. We're going to forecast. We're going to make a profit. And they lost, over $1 billion and had to drop the whole thing. Will this happen in the future to a high degree of accuracy? Yes. The more data you have, the better you can forecast. Markets are still very fickle. And the thing is about markets that a lot of people don't understand is you may have the wrong data. Your forecasting is only as good as your data. And the thing that affects markets is there's so many, markets are very localized, right? So what's good in one area isn't good in another area. And there are factors that you may be overlooking in a certain area. Like there are a problem here with that steel mill dumping toxic waste that, you couldn't have predicted, that we didn't have that data in our data thing.
Right.
So, or is this community, changing in a certain way that we don't have data for? And then there's the macro economy, which affects it too.
Right.
So factoring in all these different data and which are really going to drive prices in what direction and how fast, that's the challenging part.
It sure is. Do you want to mention the names of any of these AI data applications for forecasting?
I don't have that list in front of me, so I'm not going to go there. I'm really just giving a macro view of where the technologies, and then specifically, I could talk if I did the research on each one for quite some time on them, but I don't want to start doing that because I haven't done that granular research on every.
It sounds like that might be a future show, Captain Hoff.
Yes, a future show. But this is the big picture show because we have a lot of slides to cover. So the next one is AI property management. I know a bunch of companies doing this in the US, overseas, in China, and other places. This has is really good because property management is hard. There's a lot of moving parts. The more you can systematize it, the better. But again, with property management, the reason we still use handy men and handy women to repair things is because every case is somewhat different. So you try to manage things in a systematized way, but all these little problems that are happening with your property, they require really specific solutions. Mm-hmm. So when you automate things, which is what we're talking about through AI and other mechanisms, the things that automation works best are things that are routine. They are the same every time, or they can be accurately predicted by AI, given a certain set of data. If they can't do it, humans are still going to be necessary. And so that's the disconnect we're seeing. There are certain areas that get automated very quickly. And then there are other areas that are going to be very slow to automate. AI property appraisal. What is a property
This
worth?
one is, it's here. Yeah.
It's here. It's done. Zillow, all these other ones. This is pretty easy to do. The data set is clearly defined. You can look at a neighborhood. You can see all the prices, where they're trending, what's sold around you. Done. Right? So this technology of the future is here right now. AI leasing trends, again, just like property trends, leasing trends, this is more doable, right? Just like property appraisal, you can see what leases should be going for, how you should price leases. Very doable right now. AI neighborhood analysis. So a lot of us want to know more data about the analysis, about the schools, about crime rates, about all these different factors that would affect quality of living in a neighborhood and hence property values and whether we should buy in there. This technology is coming along really fast, and it's very useful for anybody in the industry.
There are so many moving parts and things to analyze. That's why it's helpful to have the tech.
The tech is here. So I'm giving this macro view. Another area that's going to be interesting, and I want to see if it happens. We've had this whole sharing economy. A lot of these devices are expensive, and a lot of them we don't use that often.
Right.
So
it makes sense to share lawnmowers. I mean, why not have one lawnmower do the whole neighborhood?
Right. It doesn't need to sit idle,
Right.
and we could afford to buy a much more expensive, much more incredible lawnmower than to just have this one, pruning devices, all these different things. Although people tend to like to own things, they don't want to share them. So we have this human nature factor versus the utility factor. And then there's also the factor of coordinating a neighborhood, right? Do we all want to buy into this?
Well, that's why you have homeowners associations, but again, those are a whole new set of problems.
Yeah, you have the dictators in the homeowner association telling you what device you need and how you need to mow your lawn. But what we might probably see is these devices will be shared in a different way. They won't be shared by people, organically organizing in their communities to buy a super powerful lawnmower that they all share. What it will be is they will subscribe to a service. And just like you hire your gardener now to come once a week, your gardener comes, does your mow and blow and all the different stuff you need. Well, in the future, a lot of these services won't use people. You will literally subscribe to a machine, a robot that comes and mows your lawn. Right. And that's how it's going to work. That's how these shared device, just like
we could call it grass as a service.
Grass as a service, right? So you will have your mow and blow as a service, right? And you will subscribe to that in the same way you subscribe to Uber, but you would schedule it. You'll say come on Wednesday, and instead of a person showing up, it'll be a machine, and it will be
that's really cheaper. The way it should be done. Even if a person brought that machine, and just did one after another, that's very logical.
Right. And then as it's mowing the lawn instead of a human being, as the robot is mowing the lawn, the person is doing stuff that the machines can't do yet.
Or the person has multiple machines,
and just deploys them like
truck and deploys them around the neighborhood and
then picks them all up, right? So there's a lot of different ways that we'll see this taking shape. Device as a service. So will we stop owning cars? Will homes of the future not have garages at some point? Because literally we don't need to own a car. Again, this comes down, people's cars are more than the car. For a lot of us, it's a status symbol. We like to own stuff. It reflects on who we are. For certain people, they don't want to be in a car that other people have been in. They want, their own vehicle. This pride of ownership, this cultural role that automobiles play will take a long time to change. So we already see that you can live right now strictly with Uber, for most people, especially getting around day to day on cities. And then there are other services where you can rent a car for longer periods of time that they have out there, zip cars and other things. But most people don't want to do it. Young people will do it. A lot of young people, especially people in crowded urban areas where you don't have parking or parking is really expensive, they will do it. But I don't see this changing. I don't see homes without garages becoming a big thing in America. In other countries, maybe China and places like that, where people live in these giant condos, much more readily. New York City, yes. But in America, for the average person, no, not in the near future. It'll take a while.
Yeah. I mean, when these cars are all self-driving, though, you could certainly see one that could be shared by a neighborhood. just like the lawnmower, right?
Well, instead, what we're going to see is Tesla, Uber, all these people just having cars without drivers, and
Right.
they'll be cheaper.
Yeah.
And so people will use them a lot more. But will people give up having their own car? That's the question I was asking, when that's available. And certain people will, environmentally conscious people will, people who just don't care about cars will. And
Well, I mean,
but
it's pretty impractical if you think about it. I mean, the typical car is idle 96% of the time. It's literally not being used
I
96% of
know
the
it
time.
totally makes
And
rational
my
sense.
car is not being used 99% of the time. I mean, I don't even use my car. I even wonder why I own a car. It's crazy.
Look, I will probably be one who gets rid of my car and owns no car, because for me, it doesn't matter that much. But there's a certain percentage of the American population that just loves owning cars. They
Yeah.
love it. And those people, I don't see them changing anytime soon. What they may buy an autonomous car, but they'll own that car.
Yeah.
Um,
Interesting.
would it be a good thing for society if we got rid of cars? Of course, it'd be a great thing. Less traffic, far less traffic, less pollution, less wasted product. We're building something that's just aging and depreciating in your garages. It makes
It won't be good for the insurance industry or the car business, though.
it will be absolutely,
I
it
mean,
will be
that's a
devastating for
decent chunk of the economy right there.
it'll be devastating for those
Yeah.
industries. Autonomous delivery. Well, Amazon's coming by our house every day now. They're doing that, UPS, FedEx. If it's cheaper, this will happen. Like as soon as autonomous cars are here where they really work, and there are people now, the big thing about autonomous cars is, when are they going to get here? Like Elon Musk has been promising these every year for years, right? Like they're just around the corner. They're just
Yeah.
around the corner. They haven't come yet. Are they going to be here soon? Like there's somebody running for Senate in California right now whose entire platform right now running for Senate is that autonomous cars are far more dangerous than Elon Musk would lead you to believe. And they're far further away than, and he sees that the software is really bad. Now, whether he's right or not is hard to judge, right?
Yeah.
The software development, it's really hard to know how far along we are. But what I do know is that they're already doing a test of autonomous taxis in certain cities like Phoenix and other places where they're actually working, and they're going to start in San Francisco. And so the technology is coming along. It will be here. And yes, it will absolutely be used for delivery. So Amazon will come by, they'll beep you on your smartphone. They may have another little robot. It won't look like this. Another little robot might come out from the autonomous vehicle and push it towards your door, like guide it right up to your door. So they'll have a bigger truck and little pods that go off and deliver what you need to your house. But this will happen. Devices caretaker. So a lot of us in our homes and in our lives will be using devices more and more to take care of everything, from our children to our pets to our parents. Right now, who wants to put their parent in an elderly home? They're kind of depressing. They're extremely expensive. If they could stay in their own home and literally have a robot caretaker, there
I've talked a lot about this. This is going to lengthen the aging in place issue. And I think in a good way, I mean, why can't every elderly person just have an electronic watch that'll monitor falls and give them a phone on their wrist so that it's never
the
away
Apple
from
Watch
them?
does that now.
Yeah, I know that.
Yeah.
I didn't want to advertise just one company. I was making
my mom just got one so that she could monitor her falls and
Right.
didn't have to pay for another device.
Yep.
But our children. So these devices, nannies are expensive. Sending your kids to daycare, expensive and time consuming. We will see our devices taking care of our elderly, our kids, and our pets. Like when you want to go away for the weekend and leave your pet there, we'll have a device that not only feeds them, they have these automatic feeders now, but that entertains them, that has a camera so you can interact with them.
Well,
so
we kind of have those already, but
they're here.
They'll get better. Yeah.
They're going to get way better, and the adoption rate's going to go way up as they do. Smart homes. We've talked a lot about this. So homes are going to be getting smarter. They'll continually get smarter. This is going to be a big industry. Things we're going to see in smart homes that are really important for most homeowners are detecting termites, detecting cracks in the foundation, detecting leaks, whether it's a gas leak or radon leaking up through the foundation, detecting fire. We've already seen it, all sorts of different things. If a pipe breaks in your house, all these are going to get better and better and better, and they are going to be built into homes. We're going to come to expect them, that when we buy a new home, these features are part of the home. Smart beds. Now, this is something a little different that we're going to see. Right now, when we sleep, we could be gathering a huge amount of data about our health. And
same thing when we go to the bathroom.
Exactly. And I have that slide in here, the
Right,
bathroom. Yeah. Like, you can literally be helping people sleep better through having smart beds that actually adjust. Like, if you have sleep apnea, the bed can actually vibrate and wake you up. We have all these devices now that you can put on your fingers and wrists that measure your sleep quality. These are getting much, much better, will provide much higher quality of life. They even have now what's called devices that enhance your sleep by wearing a headband. And some of these devices will actually, they claim, and I have not verified this, but there's a device called Dream and others that will claim to alter your brain waves to help you sleep better by actually changing your brain waves. Is this possible?
How do they do that?
Well, there are certain people who have disabilities because they don't fall into the right type of deep or REM sleep because their brain waves aren't quite working in the right way. So some of these devices claim to address this. And it will be very interesting to see as these devices progress, whether we can actually sleep less and get better quality sleep. Like, if they told you, you can wear this device, sleep 4 hours and get the same,
I would be the first one to buy it.
Everybody would. So as soon as these devices can actually prove that they work, the marketplace is huge.
Yep.
Smart bathrooms. We were talking about that earlier, but when you urinate, the toilet could examine your urine and tell you if you have cancer. That's a huge, huge thing. Like, everybody's going to want that smart toilet, right? So if we could be alerted early in the pre-cancer stages, very early. Go ahead.
Yeah, this is all great. The problem is it's all going to be abused. The insurance companies will buy that data. The government will buy, who knows? It's just.
So yeah, the question is, who owns this data?
It's going to be a tech dystopia. I mean, of incredible technology that could make life better, and humans will just abuse it. Companies will just abuse it.
If how our cell phones and apps are using our data today is any indication, you're absolutely right.
Right.
Because
and how Zuckerberg is doing it. Yeah.
Zuckerberg is the most egregious
and Google
example, but everybody's doing it, right? Yep. Every Amazon, Google, any big tech firm is gathering all your data, and they're using that to their advantage, not necessarily your advantage or society's advantage. And this is an area where people really have to speak up about, especially when it comes to health, right? Who do we want to have access to this data, and how is it used?
Yeah.
Smart kitchens, I think this is an area that we would love. So those of you who want to cook, more hassle-free cooking, smart refrigerators that automatically replenish themselves. They have cameras in there. They see when you're low on a product. It would, again, integrate to somebody like Amazon, who would, in the future, we'll have companies like Amazon sell you a camera that you can put in your refrigerator, or it will come in your refrigerator, and it will automatically examine, the products you buy. And and you can set it to replace when there's no more milk, notice that and get me milk. And it will show up on your door literally the same day.
Right.
Like, you will never run out of everything. And Amazon's goal, the big tech company's goal like this, Amazon's ultimate goal is to predict everything you will need and have it to you there before you know you need it.
Yep.
Literally, they don't want you shopping on Amazon, because when you shop, you price compare. When you shop, you have a choice to shop somewhere else. They want everything. They want to be buying everything for you before you need it. So the smart homes of the future will literally be buying products, shipping them to you. And then if you don't want them, you could return them. But in most cases, you'll keep them because they're there and you actually can use them.
Yep.
And that can be good and bad, right? It can be, there are positive and negatives to that. Smart cooking stoves, those will be great. Also, they may even have devices in the future that make superfoods for you, super healthy foods. And I get into that are personalized to your genetics. So again, people want that data of your, your genes. They're already selling your data when you get an ancestry check or,
Right.
23andMe and all these companies. When you upload your genetic data to them, they are selling it. And why they're selling it? Because in the future, that data can be very valuable to insurance companies, to
Oh,
food
yeah.
producers, but it can also be very valuable to you.
Yeah.
So we will see, just like we're having drugs that are targeted at people's genes, we will have foods. Not everybody's different. What nutrients you need, how you
Right.
absorb nutrients. We will have devices on our body that literally tell us, are we deficient in vitamin D, right?
Yeah.
Should we, or do we need more fish oils? What does our body need? And then our smart kitchen will know to produce these exact things
Mhm.
for us and get them into our diet.
Yeah,
So
that's going to be incredible.
it'll make us so much healthier. So there's a dark side and a light side to
Of
all
course. Yeah.
technologies. And the light side is pretty promising. Like,
Yeah.
I mean, we want these devices. We just don't
I
want to.
wonder if the obesity disaster will end. Like if I mean, we'll see. But
So that has been propagated by the fast food, the beverage industry,
yeah.
the junk food industry. It's been highly
And the
profitable.
cancer industry and the diabetes
Right.
industry.
They
Yeah.
make so much money on these things
Yeah.
because they're preying on our weakness, because human beings, because we were hunter gatherers when
Oh
food
yeah,
was
these
scarce.
are very addictive substances.
Right, they're totally
Yeah.
addictive. Like, we want them.
Right.
So we have to. People just. The problem is people are always going to prey on us, right?
Steve, I got to just share something with the
Yeah.
listeners here. I picked up a can of ginger ale about a week ago, and
Yes.
I almost drank it at a conference.
Yeah.
And I'm like, oh, my grandma used to always drink ginger ale. And I looked at it, 38 grams of sugar in a can of ginger ale. Why the hell doesn't this have a warning label? I mean, I
it's a
cannot
toxic
believe
substance.
it's a totally toxic
We found
substance.
that sugar is extremely bad for the human
And
body.
let me tell you, one of the biggest offenders is Starbucks. They are the propagator of cancer causing, diabetes causing, obesity causing crap like you cannot believe. I mean, Starbucks is really one of the worst, and they get no flack for it. And
Yeah,
McDonald's gets all the flack.
McDonald's
And
gets all the flack.
it's really not fair.
You're
I would
right. They're
argue that
loading those
McDonald's is much healthier than
frappuccinos.
Starbucks.
They're loading
Yeah.
those frappuccinos up with cream and sugar and everything.
It's disgusting. I mean, it's
Right.
absolutely disgusting.
It's the
You
reason
don't
I
have to
drink
eat
my
that. Just
coffee black.
have a bakery item. I mean, at Starbucks, just look at the nutrition information. Such an oxymoron.
Yeah. Problem is, a lot of people just don't care enough
Yeah.
to do that. But those like you and I, we really care.
Yeah.
And we will look, and certain people will benefit from this.
I think any product that contains more than 6 grams of sugar in one serving, and of course they manipulate the serving size to manipulate us, but if it contains more than 6 grams of sugar, it should have a warning label on it.
Absolutely.
I'm not for big government and big regulation, but I'm just fed up. It's
You're sounding like Michael Bloomberg right now.
Well, you know what?
He got a lot of flack for saying that.
I know. I gave him some when he did the soda thing.
Yeah, he gave a lot of flack, but it's actually true if you look at the data.
Yeah.
So a lot of, I'm one of these middle of the road people. Like, I'm not an extreme libertarian. I'm not somebody who wants extreme regulation.
Yeah.
I want intelligent regulation.
Yeah.
There's certain things that we need to regulate for people's benefit, right? That really benefits people. And there's other things that we overregulate. But it's really hard in society. There's always this push and pull,
complicated,
right? It's really, really tough.
Yeah.
Truly virtual office. We already see everybody's working from home. People don't want to go back to work. Like, most people I know, they got used to working at home. Like my brother, he hated working at home at first. He thought he was really depressed, and now he will not go back to work. He's a computer programmer. He's fought to stay at home. The virtual offices will get much better, much more interactive. At a certain point, we will literally be able to feel like somebody's sitting next to you. And that's when it gets really cool. They will have either you're wearing glasses, or you have a brain computer interface, or there's a holographic thing, but it will feel like your coworkers are literally in the room with you.
Right.
And you will be having conferences, talking to them. They'll be photorealistic. This is coming. We'll get off Zoom someday, or there'll be a more advanced version of Zoom that's a much more immersive environment, and people will start to use it when that utility value exceeds the simplicity value, right?
Yeah.
It has to be, like I said before, it has to be something simple enough that people can just turn on and it works.
Yeah.
And if it turns on and it works, boom, these virtual offices are going to be amazing. It's going to be like being in an office without being there. This is MIT is working on reading people's emotions, and they have gotten it. So they have wireless devices that literally you can walk into a room and that device can bounce a beam off you, a radio beam off you, radio waves off you, and come back and literally detect your emotions. Are you upset? Are you happy?
What is it using to detect that? Body chemistry or facial expressions or what?
There's all these different technologies. So one way is to look at your heart rate and things like that. Another, and your respiration, how you breathe, and actually detect these. And other ways are to look at your facial expressions, like with a camera, a video camera. And literally, they have AI now that can read your micro expressions. They can start to read your facial expression better than other people can. Right. So right now we can read people's facial expressions by their hand movements and
I wonder, has the polygraph industry, the lie detector industry, taken advantage of this stuff yet?
They are starting to do that now. So this is cutting edge technology. It's in the development stage.
Right.
So it's not fully mature. It's being developed, but it's coming along so fast because AI is so powerful at pattern matching. Yeah. All AI does is basically match patterns. So you can say patterns on your face, patterns of your voice, your tone of voice, patterns of your body movements, how you slouch, how you look. Literally, they can tell what type of personality you are now simply by how your eyes move about. You don't have to say a word, move, anything, just the movements of your eyeballs. They can tell if you're a neurotic personality, if you're a calm and stable personality. They can do all these diagnoses on you simply by watching how your eyes move with a high degree of accuracy. Yeah. Now, what I'm saying is the smart home. Get back to the smart home. We will want these devices because literally we will expect our robots to act more and more like intelligent people, emotionally intelligent people. We want high IQ robots. So if I'm in a rush in the morning, I want my robot to respond, or I'm in a store, right? A retail store, right? And I want to get a product. We want the robot to know the instant we walk up to it, that I want this answer right away. Other people may be offended by that. They may want some small chat with small talk with the robot, chat back and forth. They want the robot to be friendly to them. So what one person finds annoying, that small talk, another person may find as being polite. And
and the robot will sense what you want.
Yeah. Right. Yeah. So there's going to be a big data cloud out there that knows you and your personality very well, knows your moods very well, can detect everything about you. And these robots will start to respond to you in the most perfect way that you want them to without you telling them. Yeah. Now, this can be used for very good customer service, right? I walk into a store and I'm looking around for something. The robot instantly comes up to me. Oh, I know what are you looking for this? It's over in aisle 7. Without me asking, right? It just knows. I'm at home and I lost my keys. The robot will show me, oh, you left your keys.
I got to recommend, other than your books, and it's old now, but it's still prescient. And that is, we talked about him on the last show, Michael Saylor's book, Mobile Wave, which, is really quite ahead of its time in terms of those kind of prediction algorithms you're talking about.
Yeah, I talk about them in the 5 forces too. I go really in depth on this, the prediction algorithm, because there'll be so much utility here for people that we will absolutely adopt these products. Yeah. Now, the sad part is we're going to give up a lot of privacy, right? Because we're going to have cameras everywhere, robots looking at us everywhere, reading everything we do, reading inside our heads, even brain-computer interfaces in the future. It's going to be a real struggle to maintain any sort of privacy in a future that provides so much utility, because
and it is a tyrannical dictator's dream.
Oh, I tell you, if you are in a country that is not a democracy, that is ruled by a despot, this technology is going to control everybody and every aspect of their lives. And I write about that too, because I think it's a real danger to the world, because it's going to be make those dictators almost impossible to displace.
Yeah,
right.
I agree.
Because it can be so powerful. So it's Pandora's box. It's like a lot of great things are going to come out of this box and a lot of horrors. And we as a society and as a human race are at the point right now where we have to figure out how to intelligently use these technologies for our benefit as a whole and not to suppress us.
Yeah.
So that wraps up my talk. And we could talk a lot more about that,
we could, I kept quiet during a lot of that because I didn't want to go down the rabbit hole and distract you for too long. But Steve, thank you for joining us again. And the website is founderspace.com. Of course, you've got your books available in all the usual places, and we appreciate having you.
Thank you. Thank you so much.